Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live, where we're socially distant but technically connected. I am Marcy Tyler, the Director of Building Science for Tremco, and I am joined
by Paul Hugenboom, the President of the Tremco Construction Products Group. Marcy, a fine collection of brands and companies, people all over the world. Marcy, what's on our table here?
Yeah, we have something new today. We have our Tremco Live banner, so making it a little more official here in the conference room with you.
It's a nice little upgrade for us. It's our 18th episode. So.
I think it's 19th.
Oh, 19th.
Yeah.
So it's our 19th anniversary.
Yes, it is. Very, very great. Obviously, we enjoy this time broadcasting to everybody, talking about challenges that are in the industry, talking about solutions that we can provide, and just giving that overall industry awareness.
Yeah, a little light conversation for the end of the week.
Nice, yeah.
Send you off into your weekend.
And you know, as you guys all keep kind of responding to me about you love how winding down the week with us, yeah. I like it too. I like this is a nice way to wind down the week.
We talked about moving this to a bar. But not yet.
Maybe on our 25th episode or something.
Continuous improvement.
Yes, we're always looking for that for sure. So working on a new platform here as well. So hopefully people aren't having technical issues as we had in the past. But this is our glazing month. So in the month of September, we're focusing on glazing. And I was reviewing some of our videos that we have on glazing. And one of the videos talks about what do you see when you look at these buildings? And it was just kind of interesting. Are you seeing issues with your glass? Are you seeing fogging? Are you seeing leaks? Are you seeing staining?
Yep.
And then what's kind of interesting is it says, you know, what does Tremco see? We see how we can help you with that building performance. And I thought that was a pretty cool way to explain that.
Yeah, I always think of, when we see those issues, I always think that we can restore the unrestorable, right? Because they were never designed for restoration, right? That didn't come with the manual that said, oh, 20 or 30 years into the life, you need to rip this out and put this in.
Yeah.
So we restore the unrestorable.
Restore the unrestorable. I like that. I like that. So Paul sees the ability to restore.
Yep.
And getting it back to being air and water tight. So we've got, as always, got a few slides here that we prepared. Today's topic, part of glazing, is all about Simple Seal. So Spectrem Simple Seal. Love to talk about that. We've got a lot of great product information related to Spectrem Simple Seal. If you want to know more, we've got some great information, product samples that really do help explain the versatility of this product. And a bunch of pictures up here. So just showing those options and those solutions, the ability for it to expand and contract. And a new product that was added to this portfolio about a year or so ago is the ability to have a different technology. So silicones, this is mostly, we've always talked about the silicone solution, and now we have the technology of urethane.
Yeah, and what, Marcy, I know the answer, but I'll ask you. What does having the urethanes bring to us that we didn't have in the silicones?
Well, it gives us that versatility to go underneath coatings, right? And to be able to paint it. So if you're on the exterior facade, you want to coat over it, you only could coat over a silicone with a silicone. And now with the urethane technology, you're going to be able to coat over that with whatever it is that you have. But it also gives you the versatility for all the other systems we have, like our coating systems, our air barriers. It gives you that ability to make that be part of your system now, which is great.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about the features and benefits.
We are going to talk a little bit more about them. Here's some of them listed here alongside the whole idea of Spectrem Simple Seal, and these are pretty consistent with the urethane version, of course, other than the warranty. So when we're looking at warranties, we're talking about that silicone solution versus the urethane solution.
Yeah, the failed joints, that's always an interesting one, right? Because you see a lot of joints that really, I call it a wet seal, right, or a traditional sealant, actually can't solve. So it solves unsolvable problems. We
always like to, when we've given these tours in the past and having the customers like yourselves with us, we always like to say, like, we love our sealant. You know, sealant is, you know, a key part of lots of system solutions, but there's places where sealants can't give you the solution you need. And this is where this comes in. So it's that pre-cured option to really help with those difficult joints. Very good for different types of movement capabilities.
And a lot of times those joints, especially, right, Marcy, buildings 30, 40, 50 years old, the material in there is considered hazardous. So just the remediation you'd have to set up
Exactly.
to clear that joint out and recaulk it would be probably more expensive than actually just the caulking or the sealant material itself. So that's one of the huge benefits. You encapsulate whatever's right there.
Yeah, and that's where we're showing that here in this picture, right? When we're looking at that ability to go over that existing sealant that had failed. So you don't have to worry about what was in there. You don't have to grind that surface. You don't have to worry about damaging that surface.
Yeah, the damage is interesting, right? The aesthetics. So I know that when we host people, you show a lot of before and after. And you can see in the before, they tried to fix it with a wet sealant, and the aesthetics just got worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
And then Simple Seal really cleans the aesthetics up, and it's actually it's a great upgrade to the look of the building.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about that sight line, right? They're worried that it's going to interfere with the sight line, and then, as you mentioned, it doesn't look pretty either. So you've got two components there, and then you also can worry about the sealants. For it to be able to perform, it needs a certain width to depth ratio. It needs a certain amount of contact. So what I like to always say is it's like points of concern, right? There's a little more to consider and more points of concern where if you're going up and over, you're kind of reducing those points of concern from an installation perspective.
The other thing, you can't, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but we do texture. You look real close. So we can match texture and color so that the ability to, again, from an aesthetic standpoint, if you're just the ordinary, you and I would notice it probably, but the ordinary person on the street would see it just blend right into that existing finish. Yeah. So again, a great aesthetic upgrade.
Well, and I think that's the great thing to bring up. So the texture capabilities, the color matching capabilities, sometimes people, if you want to cut out and recaulk some of it for whatever reason, you could do that on the floor level, maybe where someone would see it. And the rest of your building, you can utilize something like this because your line of sight would be different and it definitely blends in well.
You said the word cutout, that also makes me think we also often leave a spool or roll of material behind so that the owner can sort of, whenever they need to, cut a section out if it got damaged and just self-perform. So this really is for the duration of the building, easy to maintain.
Easy to maintain. So it's giving you that air and water tight solution and also easy to maintain. What's great when we look at these types of solutions, we're looking at making them simple. We want to also save time, right? Because if we save time, we're going to save money, but we absolutely don't want to compromise performance. So here's just two examples of what we've done in terms of doing time studies. So the top one is an EIFS panel joint where we did a standard tear out recaulk versus a simple seal. And then below that is a storefront assembly. So that window storefront assembly where we're cutting out and recaulking. But in this case, we're using simple seal. So we used a contractor in both of these, and you can see the upper one, the way we did this, you saved about 42%, and then down below, you're saving about 18%. So you've got some time savings there as well, which is great.
I think these are conservative ones.
I think they are, because they are done in a factory setting, right, where we're not worried about weather, we're not going to get supplies, we're not climbing up on a lift, right? So you absolutely, I think, and that's a great thing to bring up is just that. They're always conservative when we look at that.
We've got some great case studies, I think, where the time savings are fairly dramatic.
They definitely are. So we'll continue to feature them this month and be able to give that point of view from the customer and from our feet on the street. This is just to kind of reiterate that fact of we're saving time. We are making the installation simple, but we are also validating performance. So in this, what we did here is we then tested it too. So we always like to validate the performance, make sure we're not compromising performance in any way. Yeah. So that's the key part.
I know we talked to test to failure a lot. I don't know if you can make simple seal fail. Like the membrane itself, I don't think we've ever been able to fail.
Yeah, I mean the elongation, the sealant's ability to bond, I mean all of that.
Knotty tear.
Knotty tear, yeah.
You want to explain to everybody what that is?
Let's explain that. Yeah, so knotty tear is a concept that we've always talked about when you talk about silicones. People are afraid that when you cut into a silicone and pull it, it's going to zipper. So knotty tear means that the technology will not allow that zippering effect. So the tear is going to stay in that spot where it was originated and not continue to propagate. And I think you always like to tell that elegant failure story, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I were wearing a sweater and you pull on the thread and the whole sweater fell off, well, I call that inelegant failure,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But elegant failure, right? You're going to pull that one thread out and the sweater stays intact.
Stays intact. So that technology, that natty tear technology, is in the Spectrem Simple Seal. So that's a great feature.
It's unique to us. We before Sealants became part of Tremco, right? We tried for 20 plus years to figure that out, and after we understood it, we never figured it out. It's pretty cool.
It's a great capability of it. And the Spectrem 1, which is the sealant that's used, or Spectrem 2, those are the silicone sealants that you can utilize with this. And we'd like to demonstrate that natty tear with the Spectrem 1 silicone too. So anytime you want to see that, we have videos on our YouTube channel that shows that natty tear quality. One is if you Google Tremco YouTube Spectrem 1, you're going to see a variety of those videos there. There's also videos of the case studies that feature that as well, and how easy it is to repair. Speaking of that, our case study today that we wanted to talk about, wanted to feature, is the Edmonton Mall. So I'm not going to show this whole video here, but I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it. So there's some great information that you can see on our Tremco YouTube channel. So a shout out to everyone involved in making those videos, because they really are great and informative. We've got a lot of key people, key feet on the street that were involved in this project. So check that out. But without any further ado, we are going to go right over to our camera and introduce our guest today, Ryan Ardiel. There he is.
Hey, Marcy. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
I saw 13 degrees on that little video. It's not 13 today, is it?
It's not. It's actually blue sky and sunny. So, but it's coming.
It's coming. Winter is coming.
Certain areas of Alberta last weekend got snow. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, Ryan, we started off doing these Tremco Lives in May, and we were still seeing snow on Fridays and lots of rain. So each week, Paul and I would get together and be like, maybe next time it'll be sunny.
Yeah.
So we believe it builds character to have these kinds of weather issues. So, and I know you're full of character. So
there you go. Right back.
But we wanted to be able to have you on today to talk to us about the Edmonton Mall. Before the broadcast started, just so everybody knows, we were reminiscing about the time I was there. It was about 9 years ago, which is crazy to think about that. Ryan and I were on a job site and it was snowing because the lift was pretty icy that day for sure. So, but yes, it was 9 years ago that I was at that mall, right after the birth of his second child. So, Ryan, I'm sure you noticed that we were showing some of this video already, but we really want to get it from your perspective, talk about this project and, how it came about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that background of the Edmonton Mall project?
Yeah, it was really by chance. I was at the mall to get my phone fixed, and I was in the parkade and saw a group of guys installing some competitive sealant in some of the joints in the parkade. And so I went up and introduced myself, and that's where the relationship with Dan really started. From there we were trialing different sealants for their parkade joints, and then one day I just got a phone call from Dan saying, "Do we have a solution or anything that could potentially help with some leaky skylights?" So from there I went up on the roof and we took a look at some of their issues. At the time, as a temporary fix, they had used some roofing tapes ultimately to seal over some. There's an example, and they were flopping around in the wind, really didn't have the adhesion that they were looking for. Still fairly expensive in terms of cost, but wasn't really performing and doing what they had intended. So that's when I basically thought of Simple Seal. And so what we ended up doing is I brought in a sample of a 4.5 inch wide piece of anodized aluminum Simple Seal, and we applied it to the area, one problematic area, and the owners and the management really liked it. From underneath, as you can see how wide that roofing membrane was, it really didn't look great from down in the mall. It overlapped quite a bit over top of the pressure bar there, and so it didn't look great. Whereas with the Simple Seal, we only went out maybe a 1/2 inch on either side onto the glass, so had a glass to glass span, nice clean look, and you know, when I let them know that they could color match the water park to the bronze and the ice palace with the anodized aluminum, they liked the idea of that. So
I think you know what's interesting. When you and I were talking, we talked about that solution, the EPDM solution that they tried. When you think about it, it's kind of similar to our concept, right, of going over the mullion, but because it's not, it doesn't have the transitions or the way we can put the notches into the Simple Seal, it wanted to be flat versus allowing it to go up and over appropriately.
Yeah, there's a lot of tips and tricks in how Simple Seal gets formed.
Yes, absolutely. And I love
like this.
With the snow
An
and
example, we can have these pre-notched pieces, and that's what we ended up doing is a custom Simple Seal. So their particular profile had 4 notches, so we were able to span over the pressure bar, down, and out onto the glass, and it worked really well. It's been 3 years now, and they're still leak-free. So yeah. The biggest challenge for them was not only were they getting leaky lights, but they were constantly having to replace them due to failed units. Just to replace one failed unit is approximately $2,500. So when you think, I don't believe they've replaced a single failed unit since we did this, and they used to do maybe 10 a year. So.
We keep talking, when we talk about these types of solutions, the people that are involved were leak chasers in the past, right? And you never really know exactly where that leak's coming from. And so to be able to go in and solve it once and for all and not see leaks, it just really is a great solution.
Yeah, we often share, you've got all these case studies, Marcy, where I always say the body's found a long way from where it was killed, right? So where the water is actually, quote, leaking, you don't have no idea where it really came in, right? Because there's often 3, 4, 5, even 7 maybe points where it can come in, and then it travels, right? You have either negative or positive stack pressures. So leak chasing is often a fruitless exercise.
Well, and I know they had continual fixes that they were doing prior to this. And what did you say, this has been a couple years now and not having any issues?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, they used to constantly have to repair drywall underneath some of these skylights in the common areas and in the water park. I remember the first time I went there to visit, as we were walking up to the roof, there was puddles of water on the floors, not from the water park. It was from outside. So and then at the Ice Palace, they used to get these interesting little stalagmites. They would just grow on the ice, little drips of water that would just sort of form up here and there. So
that's what's
they don't get that anymore.
When we look to what we're saving somebody, right? We talk about, what would it cost to continually repair, or what would it cost to completely replace? We always talk about when you have to then replace, you have occupant discomfort, right? But then also, just as you mentioned, all the different types of repairs that need to continually be done inside. Like, I don't even know if we add those in when we think about the cost avoidance. So it can definitely add up and be incredible. So I know from this perspective, being able to design a solution. I know Robert Hagen, who came to us as he's part of Tremco, came from CLX and came from his father was involved with CLX and been in silicone business and the inventor of of that. So what's so great is that ability to bring somebody in who really understands technology to help you out and really provide that service for your customer. I love seeing how they work together. They made those notches that were going to fit right up and over that mullion where that EPDM
now,
was
you made
failing.
that sound easy, Marcy.
I did make it sound easy.
Because really, right,
Yeah,
they had to take the precise
Robert.
measure and then the notches. So that's all custom, right, for exactly the geometry they have, so that it lays down nice on there. It's going to be there forever.
Yep.
So we got a great team that does all that work.
You were
Yeah, I
saying,
definitely wasn't alone.
Yeah,
The whole simple was
Yeah.
very helpful, and Robert flew out at the time and helped me with all the measurements and really helped me drive this forward. So he was great. The whole team was great.
and that's what I like about this. When we talk about, there's so many great products that are out there that exist today. So it's about using the right product for the right application. And I love that capability that we have to really meet that customer's needs. I know this was a pretty complex situation that they were dealing with and time consuming. So you came in and provided that solution for them, obviously with the help of Robert, just providing that solution to continue to not have issues moving forward.
And what's nice about Tremco is because, we obviously do a fantastic job on the sealant side, but we have, world leading capabilities on the extrusion side, right? So when you combine, often the right answer is both.
Mm-hmm.
And it's custom to what the customer needs.
Yeah. And that's what we used to talk about a lot with customers coming through here, Ryan, was it was not about one size fits all. It was like, just tell us what your problem is and we'll work together to provide you that solution. I know if you watch the video in entirety, and I hope everybody does, part of it was that how easy that repair was, which is what that upper picture is demonstrating. So if you look at that video, you'll see that on the upper picture, Kathy Alvine, the product manager for glazing, is cutting a hole into the Simple Seal. She's then patching it, and then she's putting it in an Instron and showing its capability to no longer zipper. So the repair, we love showing that. It's showing what could happen and then showing the performance afterwards that it did actually indeed fix it and would not continue to have an issue. And then I don't know if that's a picture of you, Ryan, up there.
Whoever it is, it's cold.
Yeah, cold.
No,
Not you.
no, but that's a good photo to show the sort of temperatures they were able to install this material. I don't know if you can see, but at the top of the dome, you can see some snow up there, and they would literally blow the snow off, clean the glass with a solvent, and go to work. So, this was probably, I'm going to be in Celsius here, but it's probably minus 15 degrees Celsius. So
That equals cold.
Real cold. But it's a good, it's one of the things we like to point out is whenever you do a replacement, you would be looking for an extended window of really good weather. And the facade restoration approach, you just need a small window to work in. You can work, and this obviously shows in pretty much any condition. But even if you go down to Florida, Marcy, right, where it can rain every day at 2 o'clock, then you can get a crew out early in the morning, quit by 1, knock off whatever lineal feet you can get to in that work window, and then start again tomorrow. So the weather windows, I guess, that you can work in are very, very forgiving compared to replacement.
Well, I think you mentioned that at the beginning of the video, Ryan, about the extreme climates that you do see there. So it can get really cold and it can get really hot. So whatever solution you're providing has to be durable in those extremes. And that's where that elongation and tensile strength of this solution is really going to help for that long-term fix, which once again, the EPDM from a configuration perspective, and then just the challenges that type of technology would face in that type of movement, it wouldn't be able to do that. And then of course the sight line. So I like that bottom picture here where it's just demonstrating how clean that sight line would look. And I know you were able to demonstrate that via a mock-up. And I think that's so important when we are demonstrating these capabilities.
Yeah, it's a great sight line inside, and of course the aesthetics on the outside. It's just a significant improvement.
Exactly. And air and water So I know with this project, I'm sure they were pretty excited to be able to work with you on it. I know there's the plaque there that I believe Robert made out of Simple Seal, which is pretty cool. And that's the, excuse me, West Edmonton Mall logo. So that was part of, I think Robert handed that out to all the project team members that were involved.
Yeah, he did a really nice job, and they were pretty grateful. They have that displayed in their main office now. So, and then the photo on the right is really a result of the YouTube video and the publicity that it got locally here. I'm currently working on 3 separate Simple Seal restoration projects in my area, all due to the West Edmonton Mall job. So,
well, and I think
it's been pretty successful.
And what I liked when you and I were talking about this project was, you came across it because you were at the mall, right? So I think that's what we all do, right? In this industry, we're always looking around at stuff. We can't help but do that. You found an opportunity, and then you were able to provide this great solution for, the facility management team at this mall, which then brought about so many other opportunities. So it's almost like, and that's what I love about Tremco is we've got these simple solutions for complex challenges. And then they're like, well, if you can solve this, I'm going to give you all these other opportunities to work with me. As you mentioned, like the parking garage, sealant work throughout their this mall. That's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty common, Marcy. By the time we they think the only answer is replacement. So there's tremendous relief when they find out there's a restoration option.
Yeah, we'll give you the restoration cape, superhero cape for that for sure.
Yeah, they're no longer using our competitors' sealant for the parquet joints. They're using our 45 SSL, and they also have pedestrian bridges that tie their parking garage to the mall. And as of last week, I think there's one bridge left, but they have coated all of the bridges now with our Puma system. So where before they had no coating and a lot of deterioration of the concrete, they've now built it all back up, and they've never looked better. So.
Ryan, you had mentioned earlier when we were just catching up for a few minutes that they also self-perform at the Edmonton Mall. They self-perform all their work. So I think that's pretty cool that these are so simple to install, and obviously great support from yourself that we can support these larger facilities or campuses that have self-install teams.
Yeah, I'd say it's not the norm, but we all love our contractors as well. But in this situation, they self-perform. He has a team that have been trained by Dan, and it's working out great. They self-perform the Simple Seal installation as well as all their own sealants and coatings now. So
it's great. It's great opportunities for them. Did they end up, when they were trying to figure this out, they were getting ready, like they didn't think there was a fix and they were going to have to replace the windows. They came to that decision at some point. Do you know a percentage of what it cost them instead compared to replacing? I'm throwing it out there and putting you on the spot, but I don't know if you have that handy.
Based on, an average unit is about 2,500. I mean, we're talking upwards of 25 million just to replace the units on both those skylights. We're talking a very small few percent of that overall cost. So we save them a substantial amount. Even by self-performing it, it's probably 20% of the overall cost to replace.
So Ryan,
to repair.
You have like your own parking spot there now, or like how did they must really like you?
I have my own unique entrance into the mall. Yeah, that's right. And I can use the water park whenever.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Lifetime pass.
That's awesome. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I love this project and particularly because it just talks so much about, you know, we talk about big projects, but they could also have big issues, right? So what this worked out for them was a simple solution from Simple Seal. So I love that. Love that capability of being able to provide that solution. Thank you for being able to join us here today. I love the common themes that we talked about throughout the video and today's broadcast about customizing that solution, having those feet on the street like yourself, and then having Robert be able to come in there and be able to have that expertise for you. In the video, he talks about no leaks and being cost effective. So I love that. I mean, we gave them something that's now higher performing, but it was cost effective, as Ryan also talked about, and no occupant disruption. And from that, you solved this complex issue. You know, you got a parking spot, you know, unlimited access to the water park, and lots of other opportunities, not only at Edmonton Mall, but all across Edmonton. So it's been 9 years since I was there with you, so I better come back again soon. So hopefully we're able to
get across the border.
Exactly. So, well, thanks.
Welcome anytime.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Ryan.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Marcy. You guys as well. Take.
So, Paul, this was week number 2, talking about glazing solutions.
Yeah.
Last week, we talked all about the project that we worked on with BECS and Mark Howell, that great University Tower project in North Carolina. So we took you up across the border into Edmonton. Got a couple other projects in the works for the next 2 weeks. And then, as I mentioned last week, we were talking all about stadiums and arenas, sporting events in the month of October. And with the kickoff last night of NFL, I thought it was timely for us to start getting those information.
I'm assuming it was Kansas City.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I was in bed before the end of that one.
Okay.
So I haven't checked that out, but
let's assume Kansas City.
I'm assuming Kansas City. So, well, anyway, once again, closing off today, we hope everyone has a safe and healthy weekend. Thank you for joining us on this week's broadcast.
See you next week.
See you next week.